Because what happens, the Prophet ﷺ says, لو كان لابن آدم واديان من ذهب لابتغى ثالث. That a person, if the son of Adam was given 2 valleys full of gold, would he be happy with it? Or would he ask for it? No, he would say, I'm not happy with this. Oh Allah, give me a 3rd valley. He would ask for the 3rd valley. Because the greed in this person always wants more, always wants more, always wants more. So the standards we've set, first of all, are very high. And second thing is that once the standards are set so high, now in order to maintain our family and our children, our love for our children, just the thought that I don't have my job anymore, or if I can't provide my child with money, or if I can't provide my child with food, or if I can't provide my child with, with the basic necessities that he will need, then that fear also drifts us away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then what happens is, we begin to run after these 2 things only, and the actual purpose of being sent to this world, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's pleasure is left out. Now a great example to understand what I'm trying to say, in more clear words, is, I'll give the example, then I'll explain it through the example. Now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave the human being many different types of knowledge. And using this knowledge, the human being achieved many things. And out of these many things that the human being created, or invented, was, one of the things that I like to point out to is, for example, the ship. Before the creation of the ship or the boat, a person can never imagine what lied on the other side of the sea. Or if there was anything even on the other side of the sea. Or the other side of the ocean, the other side of the river. They had no idea what was on the other side because they did not have the means to cross, to see. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gave the human being the knowledge to make this boat. Nuh alayhi salam made the boat. The people that came after Nuh alayhi salam, they created many boats, many ships. Now the beauty of the ship is that a person can use the ship and sail the oceans and trade in the 4 corners of the world. But the boat is only useful to the person as long as it's above the water. The water is beneficial to the people who are in the boat because they need the water to drink. Without the water, the boat is useless. The boat can be used on dry land. So now if you want to use the boat, you have to have water. But the condition for the water to be beneficial to the boat is that the water has to be underneath. If that water enters inside the boat, just rises a little, what happens now? That water is no longer useful, it sinks. That boat, what happens now? The water gets inside the boat, and the boat now sinks. Now, because the water left its position, what happened now? It took this person down. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He sent the human being to this world to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to gain the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is why our scholars say, every moment a person spent to gain the pleasure of Allah was a useful moment, was a good moment. But every moment we wasted and we did not gain the pleasure of Allah in that moment, we will have to answer to Allah for wasting that second of ours, for wasting that minute of ours. Because the purpose was to gain the pleasure of Allah. Now obviously the field that we've been sent to, our war battlefield, whatever you want to refer to it as, or the game field, where we will live our life, is this world. Now obviously this world, in order to live in it, there are necessities. A person, for example, has a family, he has to support them, he has wealth, and all these things. Now he can benefit from these things will help him live his life. But if these things rise a little from their place, instead of being under the feet, if these things rise into the heart, now what happens is, this person's ship is also going to sink now. This person will no longer be able to stand. And a good way of explaining this is that our scholars would always say that wealth is a perfect servant, but the worst master. Wealth is a perfect servant. A person can use wealth to serve himself. And the perfect servant it is. He can please Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with his wealth. He can educate his children. He can use his wealth to serve himself correctly, to the best of his ability. And enjoy it too. But the second his wealth stops being the servant and becomes the master, then this person is in trouble. So, wealth in itself is not bad. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala refers to wealth in the Quran as وَإِنَّهُ لِحُبِّ الْخَيْرِ لَشَدِيدٌ. That the human being, his love for good is very good, very strong. What is this good that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is referring to in the Quran? What is this khair? This hubb al-khair, you can take any tafsir book, and when you open the tafsir book and you look for the tafsir of khair, you will always find that scholars have interpreted khair as wealth. That the human being's love for wealth is very good, is very strong. Now how did Allah interpret wealth in the Quran as? Something good. Because wealth is a good thing in itself. But wealth then becomes something bad when a person does not use it appropriately. A better example for this is a knife. Now, a mature person, an adult, if he had this knife, or the lady of the house, she has this knife in her hand, She's going to use this knife now to cut the vegetables, to cut the meat, to cut the fruit, for something that's beneficial. Now, an immature child that gets a hold of this knife now, what's the first thing he's going to do? He's going to poke himself. So this knife is useful if a person is mature and knows how to use it. But the person that does not know how to use it, what happens to this person? This person, instead of benefiting from this wealth, instead of benefiting from this knife, he ends up hurting himself. So, and another thing, one thing really amazing, that this love for wealth, it seeps into our heart in such a way that when we pray to Allah, oh Allah, give me a Ferrari, many people make this dua. Oh Allah, give me a very big bungalow, a very big house, make me a millionaire, give me $2 million. These are the du'as we make. But very few people make the dua to Allah, oh Allah, give me wealth in which there is barakah. We always ask for kathra, but do not ask for barakah. Kathra means abundant. We ask Allah, oh Allah, give me more, give me more, give me more. But very few people say, oh Allah, give me barakah in what I already have. Because quantity doesn't matter. In the eyes of Allah, quantity doesn't matter at all. A person, like I just gave the example, you could be a multi-millionaire, but sleepless. A multi-millionaire, restless. A multi-millionaire, no peace in life at all. A multi-millionaire, no contentment at all. A multi-millionaire in the rehabs. A multi-millionaire has no relation with his own child. And on the other hand, a person could be poor, but he's supporting his family. Every day he has a chance to walk through that door and hug his child for 2 minutes before he steps inside the house. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not look at kafr. It's the barakah that counts. How Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses the money. You know, many examples. How the famous, the pop stars, or the famous, icons, the idols of our local, of the youth that live here, our idols that we look up to, the stars that we look up to, all the fashionists and all the actors and the sports players, all these people, they seem very happy, they seem very joyful, they seem like they're enjoying their life, but the reality is behind that face is a face and a body and a soul that's full of sorrow, a soul that's full of grief. And these people are waiting for the moment to come to commit suicide. They're fed up with life, they have no idea what to do, worshipping fire, worshipping the devil, worshipping this, worshipping that. They have no idea what's happening at all. Just taking the money that they gain and build a bigger house, build a bigger house, build a bigger house, build a bigger house. Wasting their life, have no idea what life exactly is. On depression tablets, on this tablet, that tablet. A person, for example, if you want to see what I'm talking about, your ultimate idol, whoever it is, whoever you think is the perfect idol in your eyes, go home tonight and Google their name up. And write for example, Lindsay Lohan, rehab. She's probably in rehab too. All these people are going through some type of therapy to get their mental state correct. These people are not in their place. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, summun bukmun umyun fahum la yarji'un. This is their position that they're in life. On the other hand, this person is so wealthy but unsuccessful, useless, right? But the person who has no wealth, sometimes when we go to Haram, we go to Makkah or Medina or for Umrah or for Hajj, when we see something amazing sight, it commonly seen that there's this person who comes from a foreign country. He doesn't have the chance to live in a luxurious hotel like me and you have. He's not a part of some $5,000 or $6,000 Hajj or Umrah package where he's paying so much money. And even in Mina and Arafat, there's a buffet there and he has air-conditioned tents. This year when we went for Hajj, I couldn't believe it. I recall Arafat being the place where I would get sick every year because of the heat. This is the first year in my life I saw that there were air conditions in Arafat tents. There were air conditions there. In Mina there was a whole buffet there. It was as if I was sitting in Chicago and walking through, whatever I wanted. We had access to unlimited drinks. They had like a cooler there full of drinks, as many drinks as you want. So, we are people who love luxury and you can't live without it. This poor person, at the time of Dhuhr Salah time, it's the time of, Qaylullah, extreme heat. It's so hot in those countries at that time that, the young child can't even step onto the streets. Right? And this person can't afford a hotel. He's sitting in the Haram, he wants to sleep. He takes his imam off his head, takes a sheet, whatever, rolls it up, puts it on the ground, his head's on there, and this person is snoring within minutes. They say, money can buy a bed, it can't buy sleep. This is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.